Thank you for tuning in to another episode of How Did You Get There, the podcast where it's all about the journey. It's about the twists and turns, the trials and triumphs that have brought people to where they are today. And I have with me Dr. Caurice Wynter. And she's told me I'm pronouncing her name correctly, right? It's Dr.
Yes,
Caurice Wynter. On
yes.
Instagram, she's known as Dr. Coco Chanel. And you know what? It's such a spicy, fun, vibrant name because that is exactly who you see on Instagram. I was saying to her when I contacted her, I literally stumbled across her profile and
Mm.
I saw this woman who your vibe and your energy is just so contagious. She's so
Oh, thank you.
vivacious. And I thought to myself, how does she maintain all this authenticity when she's in a profession where, you're expected to behave a certain way, because if you're not demonstrating what is the epitome of professionalism, it's almost as though you are not competent or it damages your credibility. So I thought, you know what, I have got to share her with you
Yeah.
because how do you do it? I mean, how do you even do it?
Listen, so I think that being myself and being so real has come from like years of like confidence building. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have always been in a space where I'm the only one and I feel like the outcast, and I was so like in my shell about that. I went to high school where it was predominantly white, and I was maybe like one of 10
Mm-hmm.
black people in a class of like 2,000 people. So I've dealt a long time with being that one that's the only black girl in the group or the only black person in the class, and feeling like I have to be the representation of a whole culture and whole race of people. It's just when I came into myself and I became into started to experience spaces where, you know, I have patients that look like me. I have patients. I'm from the Bronx, working in the Bronx. I should be able to relate to the people around me, and I should not
Yeah.
have to hide who I really am, because who I really am is a good person. So whether you don't like the way I talk, or you don't like the way I act, or you don't like where I listen to my Slack songs, that's a problem for you. That's not a problem for me, because I'm comfortable within my skin. And I get a lot of comments like, "Oh, that's not how doctors should act," or you could get fired, or all these things. And it's like, if any job is going to fire me for being who I am, listening to what I want to listen to, and relating to my patients on a real level, I should not be working there anyway.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning. You've said that you are from the Bronx. I'm not familiar with the Bronx, right? I'm a Jamaican girl, born and bred, moved to the UK. I've visited the United States, but what is it like growing up in the Bronx? Paint that picture for me.
So the Bronx is actually a very dynamic place. It gets a bad rep. It gets a
Yes.
rep of being hood, being violent, being like all of these things, when I just think it's a bed of culture. Like, I'm Bronx born, Bronx bred, Bronx raised, and I take pride in that because it made me who I am. You have suburban areas in the Bronx. You have uh, urban areas in the Bronx. You have just a whole different range of places and people that you don't really appreciate unless you're from here. So it gets a bad name. Like, New York City, everyone says that it's like a rough place to be, which it is, but like, I think the Bronx gets a bad name because there's neighborhoods that are very, very poor, and
Yeah.
that's not the whole of the Bronx. Like I said, just going back into like where I went to school. I went to school in Darien, Connecticut, which is a very rich,
Hmm.
rural, white neighborhood.
How did you end up at school there, though?
Um, I went to a charter school in the Bronx. It's called KIPP Academy. It stands for Knowledge is Power Program. So
Okay.
I was always like reaching for resources. So, and my parents backed me on anything that I wanted to really do. So, how I became to come to school in Connecticut is that my brother went to boarding school in front of me. And, I just wanted to go away to school. And it just so happens that I got into this program, and I decided to go away at the tender age of like 12, 11 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you know what? So I can see from your profile that you've got Jamaican heritage. No,
Yes.
some people might say, yeah, you have Jamaican heritage, but you're not really Jamaican. That's another story.
and I have words for them. Okay.
Well, we'll play a little game to see if you're really Jamaican after, but we'll go there after. But I find that when you are a child of immigrants,
Hmm.
or when you're a parent who's an immigrant and you're raising your kids, there's this focus on, okay, you've got to do better than, what I did before. There's a focus on education. I know that I drill that into my kids because that's what I was told. Education is the key. You have to do well. You've got to be better than the generation that was before. How did that feature into your own, what you heard growing up and the decisions that you made?
Yeah, excelling wasn't an option. Like that is
Mm-hmm.
just what you're gonna do. My dad immigrated here a long time ago from Jamaica, Fletcher's Land,
Yeah.
Kingston. So just the amount of work it takes for someone to come from a different country, come here, start a new life, raise a family, do all those things. Like, of course, they're gonna instill in their kids that they have to be this way,
Mm-hmm.
or not even. I wouldn't say that I had pressure because some, immigrant families, they put pressure on the children. I don't think that I was in an environment where there was pressure on me, but every child is a product of their environment. And what I saw around me was people working hard. My dad working three jobs from 6 in the
Yeah.
morning to late at night. My mom working and taking care of her kids. Those are things that are normal to me. So that's why it was just in the blood to just, work hard and do more because, we have to level the playing field, as you would say.
Yeah. So when you were a young girl growing up in the Bronx and then being in a school where you were a minority, at that point, did you know that you wanted to be a doctor?
Yeah, I knew at that point. I knew at a very young age. So why I want to be, let's just talk about why I wanted medicine, why I wanted to be a doctor. So at a young age, I lost my aunt, my favorite aunt, my dad's sister, to lupus.
Mm-hmm.
She's also an immigrant woman coming to America, maybe not having the best, insurance is an issue when you're an immigrant. Just following up with the doctor is an issue when you're an immigrant. There, I felt like I lost my aunt unfairly. I felt like if I were a doctor or if I were in medicine, my aunt would still be alive today. So this all was happening when I was 11 years old. At that age, I was so mad that she died because I felt like something wrong happened in healthcare that made her die.
Yeah.
That's the perception. Whether now I know the medical details, but then I just knew the vibe that I felt from my family and what was going on in the hospital. That anger is what made me become curious about is this unfair in medicine? Like, why is there so many discrepancies between what Black people get for medical care? Like, why do we have people that are not able to go to the doctor or are not able to pay for medications, and that leads them to become sick and have chronic illnesses that they're not taking care of? At a very young age, I became very curious about that, and that's when I just started to say, "Oh, I'm going to be a doctor. Oh, I'm going to be a doctor." And to be honest with you, I literally said that so much until I lived it, I breathed it, and I made it happen.
Yeah. I'm really sorry to hear about your aunt because for that to be the thing that drives you, it would be really traumatic, really, when you think about it.
Yeah,
But outside of that, that's something that a lot of people don't talk about is the disparity in terms of what experiences people of color might have when dealing with medical professionals. There's something about cultural competence, and it can be simple things. It can be going into the doctor, you have a spot on your face, and it's just not something that they can identify because it doesn't show up that way in their white patients. And it just
absolutely,
means that there's so much misdiagnosis or not really knowing as much about certain ailments that affect people of a certain ethnic background. So
absolutely,
having somebody like you and other people of different backgrounds in the medical profession and other professions is so important because
mm,
your doctors or your professionals need to represent their constituents or the people that come to them. So good on you. So you're a young girl, you decide that you want to be a doctor, right?
mm.
And how do you go about that? What does an 8-year-old know about the path that she needs to take to become a doctor?
So It was just something that I vocalized. When I first started to vocalize it, it was like, oh, I want to be a pediatrician. Oh, I want to, I want to be a doctor. Those are just things that I verbally said. When I started to go into high school, when I started to go into like middle school, I saw opportunities to that related to medicine. So if there was a program, I was applying for it. If there was a summer opportunity to have a job, I was going to do that. So I worked in doctors' offices as like volunteering. I did summer programs. I did internships. Like I am always going to be a person that's looking for opportunity, and that's essentially how I continued on that path.
Yeah, somebody said to me in a previous interview that it's really about luck meets opportunity or something to that effect. But you were really prepared. You didn't wait on the opportunity to come for you. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna find it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna find it. And what was that journey like for you? You know, you you say who?
Oh,
But what
geez.
was that like for you? You know, getting to the point that you're at now, because I can't imagine it would have been easy.
It's not an easy road. It was
It's
not.
not an easy road.
It was not an easy road. I'm telling you, like, just along the entire way, there has been trials and tribulations that I've had to overcome. There has been people that I had to, fight against. There's so many people that doubted me. And each stage there was a different problem, a different pathway. Like I literally, this is breaking glass ceilings. Like these things are really impossible for people to do. So I just have to be strong and know that this is really what I wanted to continue on the path, because I would have stopped a long time ago. And I literally have a story for every part of my journey, like whether it's high school and what I dealt with, um, racism in high school, being the only black person in certain spaces. I have college things that I've experienced. I've had a professor to my face tell me that I wouldn't become a doctor. I should marry a doctor because that's as close to medicine as I'm going to get. So I just have had to deal with so many different pathways, like
Mhm.
like a lot of resistance, like so many different things have tried to block the road for me to graduate, for me to be in medicine, and still I'm experiencing trials and tribulations. So like it doesn't end. So there's one day I'm gonna have to really write a book about this.
You need to write a book. You definitely need. I believe in telling our stories because it's so important to show people that whatever they're going through, they're not the only ones, and there's always a way through it or over it or around it. You just have to find a way. Something that you touched on was the negativity that you heard. How do you not internalize all of this negativity that you're getting from your professor? How do you maintain that positive self-talk so that you don't say to yourself, you know what, I'm not going to be a doctor because clearly he must know something that I don't. Perhaps I need to just marry a doctor. Like, how rude is that to tell you that the best that you can do is to find somebody who is a doctor so you have that proximity?
Yeah. So how do I deal with it? First step, I cry. I'm a crybaby. So I cry. I complain to people in my circle. I'm like upset, angry. Like, how could anyone ever say that to me? And then I self reflect on like the things that they're saying are not true, and then I boss up. Like, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
gotta do this, and this now. So whatever that person is saying, I'm gonna do the opposite of it. So you don't think I'm gonna become a doctor? Wow, I became a doctor, and I came right back to my college university, and I had a talk, and I looked across the hotel room that I was staying at, and I saw this guy's office, and I
No.
remember the moment that I was walking out of his office crying to my
Mm-hmm.
mom because he said, go marry a doctor. And now I'm here, elevated in a hotel room, being paid to come back here and talk at this university because, I made it and I'm a doctor and I'm going to give back regardless of the negativity, that he had towards me. Who knows where this man is now? He
Have
was
you
gone.
seen him since? You've not seen him since?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he worked. I saw a picture of him
Mm-hmm.
on the website, but I don't know. He's probably retired, you know.
And if by some, if he's listening, what would you want to say to him? And we don't have to call names. What
Oh,
would you say? What would you say to him?
so many people have been like, "Oh, mail him your degree or talk to him or tell him this." Me is all right. Thank you for giving me the encouragement to keep pushing because your negative words have been ringing in my head and that just made me go harder.
I love that. So, Mr. Whoever you are, you know
Yeah.
what? Your negative words pushed her forward. But next time, be positive. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't try to
Find
tear
the
people down when
house.
you can build them up. Um, Something that you touched on, you said that you cry. I'm a crybaby too. I'm not gonna say it too loud, but I feel things. I always say to people, I feel things very intensely.
Yeah.
So I'll be watching a film and something happens, and I'm like, why
I'm
did it happen? And my sister will look over and she's like, "Are you really crying?" Yes, I'm crying. Okay, but one thing that you spoke about was your support system. So you speak to the people that are around you with the type of job that you have, which is very time intensive, you probably work silly hours. How do you maintain and cater to those relationships that really matter to you?
so I don't know how I do it is the honest answer to that question. But what I can say is that I've become a master of it. And I think I've become a master of it because like I've been in this space for a long time. I've been away from home chasing educational dreams since I was 11 years old. So I've had to know how to keep connected with my mom and dad
Mm-hmm.
without living with them. I had to know how to keep in touch with friends from home when I'm away at college. So because I feel like I'm a really good multitasker. I feel like I really care about a lot of people. Like I really do have a huge support system and I have a lot of
Really?
I'm close with. I have a lot of people, I have a lot of friends, a lot of family. I have my daughter. I have much family. I really don't know how I communicate constantly with everyone because I do. It's just something that I'm so good at. Like I sacrifice a lot of sleep to do this. I sacrifice time to myself. I sacrifice a lot to maintain relationships because I think those relationships are important. So, for instance, if it's like I'm I work days, I work nights, and I work days and nights in the same week. So, for instance, tomorrow is Thursday, I'm working in the day, and Friday, I'm working in the night. So, when you're working in the night, you're the opposite of the whole world. So, some tactics I will have to do is like send a text message to my friends throughout the day or read the messages when I take a bathroom break. Or, for instance, I'm getting off in the morning and everyone else is going to work. So I have to try to make that morning call at the end of my shift and the beginning of someone's day. Or I just may stay up a little bit later to have a conversation with someone. Or, try to sacrifice different kind of time to
That is
spend.
dedication.
It's hard.
That is that.
Very-
But you know what the message for me is? Don't let anybody tell you that they don't have time to be in touch with you. They just don't care enough because
because you're not
if
busy.
exactly you're not that busy that you can't find a moment to respond to a message. They just don't care enough.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's absolutely true. Because I care so much, I do try to make time. And, I have people that hold me accountable. If I'm not if my friends feel like I'm not present, they're going to tell me and I'm going to have
Yep.
to adjust. So, in order to get support, you have to give support. So it does take time. That's a lot of baby showers. That's a lot of birthdays. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But I try to find time. I could say I genuinely dedicate a lot of my time to try to fulfill those portions of my life because I feel like they're just as important as medicine.
Yeah, I think that's a very powerful thing that you said though. So I'm just going to repeat it. In order to get support, you've got to give support because a lot of people expect to get, but they've never thought about, am I pouring into this person and yet I've got these great expectations. But anyways, your daughter is such a massive part of your life. And before I move on to your daughter, I want to plug your documentary, because if you
Yes.
get a chance, go follow, we'll call her Dr. Coco, right? Because this that's what she's called on Instagram, and I'll put her name in the description for the podcast, but also on YouTube. That documentary that you did, and you link to it from your page, is so powerful. And you speak about the fact that you got pregnant with Michaela KK in your third year. Now there's this the people have this notion that you can't have both. You
Hmm.
can't be a mom and you can't pursue your dreams. And a lot of times when women get pregnant, especially at the point that you would have done, there's this thing of, oh my gosh, you've now damaged your prospects. Your career is going to stop. You're never going to be able to do it. Bring me back to that moment when you're pregnant with Michaela. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? How do you push through at that point?
Listen, you are taking me down memory lane because I can replay in my head the exact moments of me like telling my family members about this, and they were all just like, Jamaican people,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
so dramatic, so dramatic. Like, well, what happened? Like, what happened to you being a doctor? What do you mean? What happened to me being a
Mm-hmm.
doctor? I'm in med school. I gotta graduate. I got a lot of that. Like, oh my god, like, just you know, like I said, I have a supportive family. They coming from a good place, but they like, oh, why, like, what's like, why, like, what are you doing? So it's just like a lot. I had to when it happened with me. I just instantly in my head started to I don't know. I'm a planner. So as soon as I found out, I'm like, so wait, what's going to happen there? What's going to happen there? Am I going to be pregnant during interviews for residency? Am I not going to get a job because they think I'm pregnant and I'm going to have a family? Like, so many things was running through my head. And then I was just like, we here, we got to keep moving. And I just got to do whatever it takes. Like, it was very hard, like falling asleep, like exams are tough, but imagine being very big pregnant. It was it was like if you saw my documentary, you saw like there was even one point that I passed out at work.
Yeah, when I listen to that point, so you're working these ridiculous hours, you're massive pregnant, you're like, yeah, I gotta push through because this is what I've got to do. You almost you literally pass out and somebody has to catch you while you're pregnant. So that's you almost putting not only
My
yourself
life,
in jeopardy, but
my,
also your baby girl.
my story was crazy. I'm probably 7, 8 months pregnant. I'm on my OB rotation. So in med school, you have to rotate through all different specialties, and I'm doing a C-section. Like this is
The
I watch.
irony, eh?
Like it was just too close for comfort. Like I'm watching this woman get an epidural. Now we're scrubbing in, the baby's coming out. Like I'm doing my part, and then I just started to get so lightheaded, and I just don't know what happens, and I fall back. And those earlier times in my life in medicine, I was like, oh, I have to do it. I thought I had to do it. I have to be this superwoman. It's the truth. I have
Hmm.
to be a superwoman to do all of this. But I was prioritizing medicine above me. And that was something after that moment, me passing out, I will never, ever do that again. But in that moment, I'm just like, oh, I'm embarrassed because I wanted to be a surgeon at that point. So it's like, if I can't handle this, like, why did this happen to me? I was just more ashamed than concerned about my health. And that was when I saw that there was a problem. And it's just like, I have to know how to advocate for myself because in that moment, there wasn't anyone advocating for me. Yeah, I got caught. Thank God nothing happened to me. Nothing happened to the baby. But I sat down, say I took a rest, and I went back to work. Why wasn't I immediately sent to the hospital? I called my OBGYN after that, and they told me, like, what the hell? Like, why didn't you go to the hospital? 2, that's not normal, and 3, come in right now. And then I found out that I was severely anemic, and then I started to have iron infusions after that. So it's just like, your employer, your school, all these people, they're not gonna take care of yourself like you could take care of yourself. So they're not gonna be your biggest advocate. You have to be your biggest advocate. And in that moment, although, I thought I was okay. Someone should have advocated for me and say, no, you're
Yeah.
not okay. Don't push through. Go leave now. But now I know in this moment that I have to advocate for myself, regardless of.
Absolutely. And I think that too many of us have this unhealthy relationship with work. We put work above everything. And the reality is none of us are indispensable. If tomorrow we get hit by a bus, I always talk about getting hit by a bus. I don't know why. But if tomorrow we get hit by a bus, you know what's gonna happen? Somebody's gonna come and take your place.
Replace
So
you
it's really about thinking about the things that matter. And I'm a hypocrite, right? I'm saying this to myself.
and your work. Yeah,
I
yeah.
am, but it's trying to figure out what is this thing that is driving this workaholicism. Is that the word? The word. What is it that's driving us to be workaholics? I don't know. But you also experienced so much loss at the point that you were studying as well. And dealing with loss is really difficult. And it's not something I've not lost someone really close to me for a long time. The last person that I lost who was really close to me was my, I don't even know how we related. Let's call her my great grandaunt or my grandaunt, right? And I remember when she died, it was in the midst of COVID.
Yeah.
She's in Jamaica. I'm here. I can't go to the funeral. So the only thing I could do was to write a eulogy. But I think because she was there and because I wasn't there, it was almost as though I didn't confront it. The
Hmm.
minute I went back to Jamaica and I couldn't go to see her, it's when it hit me. But I can't imagine dealing with that at the point, dealing with any kind of loss at that point where you need to be so focused on your studies. What's your coping mechanism to kind of deal with the loss at that point when you're trying to get to that next level in your
Boy,
studies?
I don't even have a good answer for that because you
Mm-hmm.
are absolutely right. I've dealt with a lot of loss and my family is dealing with loss right now, and I think that's why like even that topic coming up is so touching because um it's just extremely difficult, and I don't know how to manage it right now. Especially when you losing someone suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a day by day process. Like honestly, to be real quite honest and to be real frank, like I recently lost a family member, and just the hurt behind it being so sudden is not something that I've been able to deal with. So it's been a rough patch for me, like
Mm-hmm.
for the last couple weeks, and just being there to support family through what is going on. It's hard, and I have tried to be present for my family, and I don't know. I just don't know. Like, there's not really a good answer for that because I still don't feel like I process things. Like,
Yeah.
my grandmother died, and the next day I went to work. I went to school. I took exams that week, and that's where I found myself to get in trouble. Like, I didn't do well on my exam because of that, because I'm not processing certain things. And that's something that I learned about myself, is like I'm such a warrior child, like I feel like I have to push through everything and be this person. And it's just like, no, there's certain times where I need to step back and not try to push through. So that's something that I'm currently battling now. And I don't really have a good answer. Like, grief is hard. And then it's just losing someone young and sudden is like, you feel angry, you feel like it's unfair. Like, even losing my grandmother, I feel like she's not going to see me become a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
even though she knows, I know she's somewhere and she's been
Yeah.
guiding
Yeah.
my steps. She didn't physically see all the days she used to pack up my food and make sure I have my black cake, my
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving dinner, all those things. She don't really see it, so sometimes it will hit me like, oh wow, like she's not really there. But I just have to live in the moment and live for the people that I've lost at this point.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Just sending lots of positive energy to you and your family because going through loss is really difficult. So
Yeah,
just sending lots of from me to you, just lots of
yes.
positive vibe. I don't know if you can feel it through
Yeah, I feel it.
the
Today is actually like one of the first days that I've
Mhm.
tried to like really like get back into the Dr. Coco that y'all all know. Like,
Yeah.
trying to post content Wednesday and trying to have, try to just feel like a little bit more normal, because I just have had personal stuff going on, mixing residency, trying to be a mom, like seeing loss around me. Like it's been like, it's funny that I've overcome so much, and yet like just a random day we're having this podcast, and it's just like still so much. Life is always happening, and something is always
Yeah.
happening, and there's always something you got to fight through. And it's not just me. It's not. It's everyone. Everyone is experiencing loss. Everyone is experiencing hard times. Like, I don't know. I feel like 2020 was my year, and ever since 2020, nothing has been the same. And there's always a constant battle in the world around us. So I just try to give people grace and be kind, because you really never know what someone is truly
Yeah.
going through inside their head, and it's real crazy out here.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't necessarily wear their trauma as well, especially if you're a light, bubbly big person who's always kind of smiling, laughing, easygoing. You don't necessarily wear your trauma, and a lot of times behind all of that that jovial nature, there's a lot of pain. But you just put the best on the outside. I think something that I've learned a lot this year, because 2024 has been a year for me. It just, I was like, great things are going to happen. This is going to be my year. It's a leap year. And the reality is, I've had a lot of knocks this year,
Hmm.
but there's been some good things happening as well. So I've almost had to try and step back and say, okay, this is horrible. That's really horrible. Oh my gosh, this one's could put
Yeah.
me under. But the balance of that is, I've also had some really good moments. So it's just
Mhm.
taking the time to, I always like to say, have an attitude of gratitude and say, even though things aren't great, they could be much worse and there are still good things happening. But
Yeah.
yeah.
One thing I must comment on and say is that the friends or the people who are the jovial ones, the strong ones, and they wear it well, they
Mm-hmm.
still need to be checked on. People sometimes think because I post on Instagram, or because I'm happy, or because I'm just, that bubbly type of person, that doesn't mean like I have stuff going on. Like, it's really hard. First of all, it's hard to hold people accountable when everybody really
Mm-hmm.
is going through serious times at this point. So I could understand how it's hard for people to check on other people when they feel like their life is crumbling around you. But I just feel like it's important to think about the friends who are strong, the friends who are always supportive, the friends who may not know how to, wear their trauma on their sleeve or tell you what's going on. It's just important sometimes to ask those friends, "Are you good? Are you okay?" Because
Yeah.
sometimes it goes unnoticed that they're going through stuff as well.
Yeah, you're so right. So let's go back to Dr. Caurice Wynter.
You got to wait. You got to emphasize it. You got to go, Dr. Caurice Victoria Winter.
Okay,
Like,
then.
it's,
Dr. Caurice Victoria Wynter. Talk
that
to me
gives you
nice.
oh, talk to me nice.
I just love your patois. You do a lot of mentorship, and I see how you would be such an impactful mentor because you're so relatable. You're so open and honest, and you are truly inspirational, because I think seeing you, hearing you, because you're so accessible and you're so warm, it says to me that, man, if I wanted to try to do anything tomorrow, I could put my mind to it and do it. And
Hmm.
so I can imagine when, a little Phoebe or a little Carice sits in an audience and listens to you speak, they think there's nothing that's impossible. What
Aw.
pushed you to decide to give back in that way? Because I can see that you're a giver, and mentorship is such a powerful way of giving back and paving a way for somebody else.
I live and I breathe diversity in diversity in medicine, mentorship, children, just anyone who's struggling around. I don't know if I feel like I'm Superwoman for real, because I really try to take people under my wing, and it's just genuine. I think I was just born that way with that. Like I said, I grew up in a loving environment and supportive environment. So I think, one, it's my nature and my personality. I'm a giver, I'm like overly given. And you have the protective family members that say like, why are you doing this? Why are you, I sacrifice a lot of me to help other people. And I think I do that, one, because it's genuine, two, because I didn't completely have that all the time. There are moments where I didn't have a woman, a black doctor that looked like me. I didn't have someone that I could text or be like, this is going on in my life. How can I help? There's so many people that I give my number to, that I give my email to, that they have my Instagram. I answer my DMs. There's so many, you said access. So many people have access to me. And I don't think I had that access when I was trying to do this for myself.
Yeah.
So I really do want to increase diversity in medicine. I really do want more black and brown doctors because, like you said before, that is going to alleviate disparities of health. There is a science to this. The more percentages of doctors that look like patients, the better care they're going to get. That's just how it is. And if
Yeah.
I can help increase that number, then I feel like I'm doing my job, not only on a level of, yeah, I'm your doctor and I'm taking care of you, but I'm trying to do a massive level. I'm trying to make a global change, or like
Yeah.
what I would call like a nationwide change. I'm trying to have that really big of an impact. And how I do that is planting the seeds at the bottom with the kids in
Yeah.
the school, when I'm going to middle school and talking to them, with the high school students, with the college students, with the med students, with other residents, with residents who are interns. That's how I do it on a massive, massive level, because everyone that I'm giving a piece of me and having an impact, they're going to want to do the same for someone else because they saw that it was done for them. It
Yeah.
does take away, like, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort because it's like answering phone calls, being accessible even on my day off, talking to people, doing stuff like this. But in I think in my reality, in my world, I want to see a future where this is just what I do, and I could be, compensated or paid for it in some way, not from like the people, because obviously I don't want to, like, I'm not going to charge someone for something that I know they're trying to make it. But if I could start some program, or if I could get some funding or something to do what I do and be able to be all right with myself, then I feel like that would be the most fulfilling thing for me.
Yeah. And I was watching a video. I don't know where it was, if it was in your documentary, but you said every time you have an opportunity, you put someone else on. And the unfortunate thing is that if there's a woman in the workplace, sometimes those women are the meanest, even though we say, yes, we're fighting for gender equality. Or
Mhm.
sometimes with people of color, it's like, man, there's only space for one of us. How do you manage to have that mentality where you realize that actually there's enough space for everyone, and me helping you doesn't mean that I'm relinquishing my space? Because people do have that mentality.
No, people absolutely do have that mentality. And let me tell you, there was times in med school where I specifically remember me learning about a program and me telling a friend, someone that I thought was a friend, hey, this is a program. Let's both apply to it.
Mm-hmm.
And they have opportunities and they didn't tell me at all. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm sharing like, oh, we could get funding to go to this conference by doing this. I'm giving out all my information. And they not doing the same for me. You know why I never stopped? One, I can't change who I am, and that's just really who I am. If something's for me, it's going to be for me regardless if
Absolutely.
10, 20 people is
Anything that
applying.
is for you cannot be unfor you. That's a Jamaican saying. If it's
Yeah,
for you, it's gonna be for you.
exactly. So I continue to bless people with the opportunity, because if I was meant for the scholarship, I'm going to get it regardless of what you do or what you say. So I also believe, and as time gone by, and this is still my motto, and I'm still here, I'm still going strong, and now I have the MD behind my name. I feel if you are genuine and you try to bless people with opportunities, you're gonna get more blessings. You're not gonna, maybe you will miss out on that scholarship because you gave someone else the opportunity and y'all both applied and you didn't get it. You might get something better. You
Mm-hmm.
might get something better with more opportunity, more money. You never know. So I
Yeah.
just always try to keep that mentality that if it's for me, one, is not gonna pass me, and two, anytime I'm doing good, it's going to come back to you. It's going to come back to me in some way. It may not bless me, maybe it'll bless my child. So I just try to, it has hurt me. Let me tell you, it has hurt me when I know that I give opportunity to everyone and to just have the proof there. Cause I'm kind of fool too sometimes. Like, I see I see people play in my face, and I see people, and your mother will be like, what are they doing? Like, your mother and your family will warn you, and I just like, oh no, it's not like that. I'm a little foolish at times. It hurts when I do really see plain and simple, like, nah, you guys were hiding stuff from me. That part really hurts. So when I saw that, wow, there was opportunity there, and they excluded me from it, like me, the one that gives everybody everything. I was just like, that's tough. But then I realized that maybe that path wasn't for me. Maybe I was not supposed to be in
No.
orthopedic surgery, and that's why I'm in emergency medicine. So
And
that's
that's
how
a
I
that's a
pushed through.
tough thing to wrap your mind around, wondering if something is really for you. I remember um I was in a role and I really wanted to get promoted, and I applied for this job. In retrospect, when I look back at it, I didn't apply for the job because it was the best thing for me. But
Hmm.
I talked myself into thinking, okay, I've been doing this type of comms. I was doing internal comms, which is my passion. And I was like, perhaps I need more external comms
Hmm.
exposure, and perhaps this is what I need to do. Mind you, I know that internal comms is my passion, right? Anyways, applied for this job. It was myself and this other guy, really good guy, great at his job as well, who applied for it. And I didn't get the job. And I sat in that kitchen and I cried when the lady told me, she's like, you're great.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I sat and I cried, and then I wiped my eyes and I messaged him and I was like, I've heard you've got the job. Congratulations. And genuinely, it wasn't oh, woe is me, congratulations. Genuinely, he deserved it. And
Yeah.
he really would have been great for the role. Might I say, probably better for the role than I would have been. But in retrospect, when I look back, if I had gotten the role, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Hmm.
And I was in a good place then, but I think I'm in a better place now. I'm in a role where I have autonomy and I've learned so much, but I also have the flexibility to do pretty much anything that I want to do.
Hmm.
I can bring my ideas to life and there's not a lot of bureaucracy. So I think sometimes in the moment when you get those
This,
setbacks, you've got to think that perhaps, as you've said, that just wasn't the path for you. There's another path that's even better. But if you stay stuck in that moment of, I didn't get this thing, you can't see that other better thing that's on the horizon.
let me tell you, I live and breathe that because I feel like in med school my greatest downfalls, like, they were so disappointing. That, like, I mourned my failures. If I didn't fail as bad as I did, I wouldn't be who I am right now. I wouldn't be this confident. If I didn't dig myself out of the failure that I
Mm-hmm.
failed, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be this open. I'm no one shares their failures like I share my failures. In medicine, no one talks about failing exams. No one talks about not getting into it's like a taboo. Oh, no one shares grades. What do you get versus what do you get? It's a very bad taboo. So when I failed my step exam, the first time, I was devastated. If you fail these exams, like, you won't get a job. Like, these are the things that are in your head. You won't get a job. It's going to be hard for you to match. I can't do surgery. I can't, like, the way medicine works is you have to, in med school, you have to take board exams. You have to take
Yes.
step one and step two. And then you have to apply for a match cycle. So you landing a job after all your years of hard work to become a doctor it's like computerized. It's based on an algorithm, and
Mm-hmm.
you ranking a program and a program ranking you, and y'all matching. The taboo is if you fail certain tests, or if you fail a board exam, you can't get into competitive specialties like surgery or whatever the case may be, or get prestige schools. So I failed my first step exam, and that was in a moment of going through all the things that I were going through with my grandmother. I just had a kid. COVID happened. Both of my parents got sick. I helped, save them from that situation. Like, death was happening all around us. George Floyd was
Mm-hmm.
getting killed. Like, all of these things were happening whilst I was trying to study and prepare for the biggest test of my entire life. And I had a 3-month old kid. And I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do this. And like I said, when I try for something, I put my all into it. And I gave my all into it and I failed. And I was like, whoa, that was like, when you say cry, those
Mm-hmm.
were not cries, those were wails. Those
Yeah.
were like, like you do not like, and this has happened to me at times where it's like this repeat of downfalls for me to have like this, like I have to overcome so much to just really
Mm-hmm.
get to where I am. So when I failed that first time, I said, you know what? We got to keep going. We got to keep going. We got to keep going. So I did what I had to do. I reached out to my school. I joined the class. I said, I'm going to do this. I was depressed. I was sad. I was still being a mom. Like, imagine say postpartum. Imagine like a mom who just goes through postpartum. Imagine that you fail an exam. You still trying to go to school. You doing all of this at the same time. You grieving loss. Like, I do not know how I made through those times.
Yeah.
So I stuck it out. I did the class. I felt good, prayed a lot, meditated a lot. Like with God, none of this would be possible. So God first above all things, because He has destined my whole life for me, right? But I got to that moment to build myself up and say I could do this again. Sat for the test and thought it was okay. To find out that I failed again.
Ooh.
When
So
I
you
failed,
failed your exams not once, but twice.
I failed one particular exam 2 times. And
Mm-hmm.
this was the major big exam that you need to get a good job, whatever.
Yes.
That step one, I failed it 2 times. The second time I found out I failed, the first time I only failed by like say 3 points. The second time I only failed by 2 points. So I was just this close to passing, but didn't pass again. And when you don't pass that test, you have to go through the whole study period, which is months, again. So when I failed that test the second time, I thought I was done for. Like, I was just like, first of all, when I found out, the whole neighborhood thought someone had died, because the
Mm-hmm.
way that it was so. This is my whole life. This is what I've been working for forever. If I don't make it through this test, I will not be a doctor. So those moments, this is 2020 for me. This is like starting September to the end of 2020. Those moments, it was like this dream is gonna happen or it's not gonna happen. There was times when I was studying to sit for this 8-hour exam. For the third time, I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna become a doctor. If I don't pass this test, I'm like, I'm not gonna be a doctor. Like, what I'm gonna do? I spent my whole life trying to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I was really like, shout out to everybody that held me down during that time, because I was really trying to get myself together. I had to start meditating. I had to start walking outside daily. I was secluded into an apartment for days on end. I would wake up 7:30, 7 a.m. My schedule was planned out from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up 7 a.m. I would study. I would go. I would walk. I would come back. I would study. I would be in class. I would, do questions, and then I would go to sleep at 10, and I would do it again. 30 days. I was away from my child. I was by myself. It was just me and the walls of my apartment.
Yeah.
And
What did that teach you about you though? Because I think people find it really difficult, me included, to deal with failure. But having overcome that and failing not once but twice, and thinking that your future hinged on passing that, and even if you did pass at that point, that would damage your
chances.
your chances to land the kind of match that you
Uh,
wanted.
yeah.
What did that getting over that teach you about yourself?
That getting over that. So I went on, I took it the third time and I passed. And then I had this test has 3 parts, baby. It's not even over.
Oh.
it's not even over. So I did step two and I excelled on it because I at that point is me
Mm-hmm.
against me. It's me
Yes.
against me. So I figured it out and I did well on that test, really well. And when I did really well on that test, I said there is nothing that can stop me from
Mm-hmm.
being a doctor. Like I I am the way I am and I feel the way I feel because of those moments that I went through and overcoming that. And no one in med school made me feel like I was a good candidate. Not say no one, let's say administration. Like, cuz this is a system that's built off racism. Let's say medicine, systemic medicine did not make me feel like I was a good candidate for residency when the whole time I was great. I was doing more than anyone else was doing. Despite my failures, I was still a great candidate. And I had 25 interviews for residency. I thought I was going to have to go into a career. Like, I was convinced into a career of internal medicine when I wanted emergency medicine because they said that I wouldn't match because I
Mm-hmm.
failed. And guess who's an ED doctor now? Who works in the emergency?
Is it is it is it Dr. Caurice Victoria Winter?
Yes. So I have the printout of them telling me yes. Like, say you all right, let's give an example. Say you going to Dr. A and they're telling you this is your diagnosis, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
you go to Dr. B because you well want a second opinion and you well want to hear something different, right? I went to my administration and said, I want to be an emergency medicine doctor. At first, I wanted to do orthopedic surgery. I said, no, that's not really for me. I wanted to do EM because emergencies were happening in my life. I was saving my family. I was saving people, literally people I love. I had to
Mm-hmm.
save. So obviously, I'm a master of emergent situations if I could overcome those things. I want to be an ED doctor. This first opinion is saying, it's gonna be hard for you to be an ED doctor because you failed step once, you failed it again. It's gonna be hard for you to match. So I'm like, what? It's gonna be hard for me to match? Ain't no way. So I'm well getting myself suited up and prepared to go to opinion B for opinion B to say, A was really right. It's going to be hard for you to be a doctor, to be an emergency medicine doctor. You should try to do something else. That was my second opinion. And the only reason I'm here as an ED doctor today, God first, and just faith after. And, I just threw out applications there. I just ran, after I saw that I did well on the second test, my friend said to me, just throw out some applications to emergency medicine with that 248. Just do it. And I was like, okay, fine. I had already had the application prep from the year before. I didn't change anything about it. I just blindly submitted this to 10 places and I got 5 interviews back. And
Wow.
throughout the process, here I am, almost 3 years, about to start my third year of emergency medicine residency. And
Yeah.
if it went any other way, it wouldn't. I would be miserable. So I'm just happy that God has, done His work on me for me to be able to be here and tell you the story.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's been such a pleasure. You're so inspirational. I'm sure your aunt, your granddad, your grandmother, and your family who are here and they see you every day, they must be so proud of you and everything that you've accomplished because even as a parent myself, I think the best thing that you want for your children is to just be the best version of themselves. And you're such a warm, wonderful human being. It's been
Um,
such a pleasure chatting to you. What would you say to, someone who's listening or watching who's feeling that sense of doubt, you know, going through not necessarily getting an easy road to where they want to go or they're dealing with failure. What would you say to them at this moment?
at this moment, I would one let everyone know it's okay to feel how you feel
Mm-hmm.
because yes, I'm here, I'm a doctor, but I have so much. I still have imposter syndrome. I still have days where I feel like, am I good enough for this job? Everyone is going to have some doubt in their mind because that's just human nature. Don't let that doubt be stronger than your faith. Your
Yeah.
faith has to be your number one. you have to lean on God, and then you have to lean on your support system after that. And then you also have to be about your business, because you cannot say that you want to do something and not do the footwork.
Yeah.
So what I say to my people who, reach out to me for advice, you need to make your list, and you need to make sure that you're checking off your boxes, because don't come to me not correct, right? We got to work together. I'm
Yeah.
going to be able to speak life into you, because I've been through what you're going through, but you got to get it together too. And you got to know that all the time that you're spending with the doubt and the worrying is just is wasting time that you could spend on getting to the goal. So I like to tell people that, have faith, keep pushing, and be determined. If it's something that you really want to do, you can do it. Because if we talked for about an hour now, and we just touched the surface of all the things that I've been through. If I could still stand here, and even in my present moment of going through a storm, because I'm in a storm right now, still having that faith, there is no excuse for you to give up.
Yeah.
And that's giving up is not even an option. Okay. So
No.
that's what I really like to tell people. Like, just keep going. And if you ever feel like you're going to give up, just call me, and we'll talk.
Dr. Wynter, where can people who want to connect with you find you?
IG.
IG.
I'm an IG girly. I'm trying to get into TikTok. I have a TikTok too.
Oh, I'm about to delete my TikTok. I tried. So I'm not a TikTok person either, but I tried to do TikTok because I thought, let me promote the podcast there. I don't think my content is for I don't think my content is for TikTok.
Yeah, I'm trying. Like, I just want to reach a lot of people. So that's why I'm trying to get my followers up. I'm trying to, talk to people. DM me is probably the easiest way to get to me. So
And she does respond. This is how I got her on this podcast.
Right,
we're connected because I sent her a DM and she was so open and warm and willing to come and have this conversation. So on Instagram,
Dr. Coco _Chanel 04.
Okay, so Dr. Coco _Chanel CHANEL 04.
Yes.
Yes, I got it. Thank you so very much. I'll keep on watching you dance, and just know that I'll be right there beside you, kind of dance.
Oh,
Thank you so very much.
welcome. That was so fun.